We're going to go over how to find the equation of a line of best fit. In cycle 1, you looked at how to make a line of best fit. So you want to make a straight line and you want the same number of points above and below, and you want to make sure you're using a ruler. Now I've been playing around with it a bit, so I already have a general idea of what I want the line to look like. But when you draw the line, you want to have the line try to pass through at least 2 points, because you need to have 2 points to be able to determine the slope. So I'm going to actually have the line go through this point and this point. And the only reason I know that those 2 points are good is because I've tried it a couple of times with my ruler, and I've discovered that those are 2 pretty good points for the line to pass through. All right, so you can see there's approximately the same number of points above and below the line. Now, to be able to figure out the slope, what you want to do is know the points. Now, quite often you'll be given the data table and you'll be able to figure out what those points are exactly. Otherwise, you might have to estimate. So I'm going to estimate that the first point is at approximately 10 for the height and maybe approximately 6 for the weight in pounds. And the second point is definitely at 15 inches for the height, and I'm going to guess that that is approximately 25. And this becomes your x1, and this is your x2, and this is your y1, and this is your y2. Now you're going to get some nasty fractions. So what you want to either do is to use your fraction calculator on your fraction button on your calculator, or use your own knowledge of fractions. All right, so first thing is to draw the line of best fit. The second thing is to get those 2 points on the line. And the third thing we're going to do is use the slope formula to determine the slope. So your slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So for your y's, it's going to be about 25 minus 6. And for your x's, it's going to be about 15 minus 10. And that's going to equal 19 over 5. You want to make sure that you're leaving your slope in a fraction in lowest terms and as a mixed number. So you want fraction and either proper or improper and lowest terms. And for lowest terms, make sure if it ends up being something like 6 over 1, 6 over 1 in lowest terms is 6, not 6 over 1. That's something that a lot of people make the mistake of. All right, so to find the equation, you're going to have y equals mx plus b. So then what you're going to do is to substitute the slope into the equation. So y equals, and the slope is 19 over 5 x plus b. And then what you're going to do is to take one of the points, either one, and you're going to substitute the x in for x and the y in for the y. So it doesn't matter which point you pick. So if we pick this one, Then the 6 goes in for the y. At this point, we've done all this before. And the slope is 19 over 5. And the x was 10 plus b. So all of this you've done before. And now when you multiply these two things, so if no decimals, so you might need to use your fraction button or your fraction skills. In this case, we can end up canceling out the denominator because 19 times 10 is 190, and then 190 divided by 5 is 38. So in that case, you don't end up with any bad decimals or bad fractions, but sometimes you might have to use your fraction skills. Then the next thing you're going to do is to subtract that 38 from both sides. And then that's going to give you a b value of negative 32. And so your equation is y equals 19 over 5x minus 32. Now you might look at the graph and think, well, if that continues, it doesn't look like it's going to be at negative 32. And the important thing to realize is that this graph is not starting at 0 on the x. So if the graph does not start at 0 at the x, you can't just take a look at where the line starts and make that be your y-intercept. If the x values did start at 0, you could extend the line of best fit and just look at the graph to see what the y-intercept is, but you can't do that if the x scale does not start at 0. So you've done work like this before, finding the equation of the line through 2 points. Use the slope formula to get the slope. Substitute the slope and one of the points into the equation to solve for the b. You've done all of this work before. We've done this work before, making the line of best fit. So we did this in cycle 1, we did this in cycle 3, and now we're just putting them together to find the equation of a line of best fit. So there's really nothing new, and that's the whole point of this unit, is that, or this cycle, it's not that you're learning any new skills, you're just kind of putting things together.